Hey, how's it going, everyone? We're back for another exciting episode of Off the Pitch with myself and Daniel, and we're going to be talking about everything in the Premier League from the big game in Leeds and Manchester City all the way to the Newcastle versus Burnley game for the relegation battle. We'll be talking about all that and all the other Premier League games right after this. We're going to kick this one off with West Ham versus Leicester City, the battle of top four. Getting tied up there for the third and fourth place. West Ham managed to nick it over Leicester 3-2. Almost lost another 3-0 lead for West Ham, but they managed to hold on to it. What did you think of West Ham's performance and Leicester's shocking defeat?
Yeah, West Ham are looking like a team that deserves to be in Europe. No taking it away from them. Huge game for a team like West Ham to be up against Leicester. Both teams are on form at the minute. They're both doing really well. And it feels like West Ham just came out the stronger side. They wanted that game more and they took it. We can see the score there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Leicester had a good comeback near the end of the game. Some really good goals to try and regain a point out of the game, but fortunately couldn't quite get there. But not to take away from how good West Ham and especially Jesse Lingard was. He was an absolute man on fire. I don't think there's been anyone on form as him and recently. He's just been unreal, but he's a joy to watch as well. And it's not often I say that about an ex-Man United player. But he is really enjoyable to just watch play on that pitch. Where he's concerned at the minute, there's going to be goals.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse Lingard really shone through once again. I mean, that amazing volley he had there in the 29th minute off his right boot, just bends it in the bottom right corner. We've talked about Schmeichel before, and I mean, Schmeichel really couldn't do anything on this shot. And Jesse Lingard, another goal in the 44th minute. He's up to 8 goals and 9 appearances with 4 assists. The guy just can't be stopped. And then Jared Bowen with a great finish once again from himself. And West Ham are really having everyone get involved. As we can see, Kufal got an assist for Jesse Lingard's first goal. Souček might get an assist too. Souček was on fire, scoring lots of goals too earlier in the year. He's kind of slowed down, but he's still there and thereabouts. And Kelechi Iheanacho managed to grab 2 still in a Leicester defeat. He's been on fire for Leicester City, as we were talking about a new striker coming to Leicester, and Iheanacho really rises up from really nowhere. And West Ham managed to do this without Declan Rice, their star midfielder, the star player. And you bring in Mark Noble. Yes, he's experienced. Yes, he's probably a club legend. Everyone adores him at West Ham. But you do take out Declan Rice, a player who's Champions League caliber, 100 million, as David Moyes would say. But did you think this team was going to be able to pull off some kind of a defeat like this to Leicester without Declan Rice in the squad?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's fair play to them for doing it. We talk about Champions League material. I don't think they've sort of proved. They haven't had a season in Europe yet, and I think that's the big divider for them. I'd want to see West Ham in Europa first, personally. I mean, it'd be a great achievement for them to get into the Champions League this year, but I feel like if they get that bit of time in Europa first and sort of just get accustomed to European football, because even where they are right now, jumping in straight into Champions League football, as we all know, is a complete different kettle of fish. They'll be going up against teams like Bayern Munich, PSG, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. It's a completely different game from Premier League standard. And is that a jump they really want to take? They've had, I don't want to say a one-off season, but it's the first time they've done this in a while. Do you want to jump straight into Champions League football and then next season they're exhausted every week? They're coming back, playing a couple of games more every week. It'll take a hit on the players. I think they'd want to get accustomed to Europa football, where the level they're going to be on is probably more similar to their own. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not slating West Ham because I think what they are doing this season is great. But I feel like they need a bit of time at Europa first before jumping up to Champions League.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But you look at West Ham here. They've scored 3 goals in consecutive matches against Arsenal, Wolves, and Leicester. And then they ended up drawing against Arsenal. They ended up giving up 2 to Wolves almost tying that one again, and then gave up 2 late here against Leicester. Does this show that they really miss Declan Rice, or they just really are in need of a back line, or they're just that tired and at that time of the season?
I do think Declan Rice is a huge impact in the defensive lineup for them. I'd maybe argue that I will never say it comes down to one player, but I would argue that Declan Rice is the thing that sort of held them together a little bit well. I mean, who else have they really got in defence that is the name that everyone knows at the minute? It's just Declan Rice, and he has been quality for him. Can't take it away from him. You don't want to say take away him and the team doesn't do as well, but it seems, I mean, apart from this one, but we know we've said the same about Aston Villa. Look at them since Jack Grealish has been out. Yeah, they've won 1 or 2 games, but there's also they're not creating half the chances of what they had been. It's just one of those things. A team can rely too much on a player, even though they don't need to. And that's what West Ham don't want to do with Declan Rice, because no offence, if David Moyes really does think he'll get 100 million for him and someone offers West Ham 100 million for Declan Rice, they'd be foolish not to take it. Not that I do think he's going to get that much offered, but I think even if someone says 60 million for him, I think they'd be idiots not to accept it. Because as a CDM, he's probably not going to go for much more than that unless he proves to be unbelievable world class. And I think, it's see how they do next season if they get a good offer for him this season, unless they can tie him down. But this is the joys of Premier League and the joys of football. We'll always see what happens when a player takes an impact. We've seen it with other clubs. They make what they feel to be the star signing, and it all flops. Alexis Sanchez was one the other year. You'll know probably well as a Man United fan, he was on fire and then came to Man United and just absolutely flopped. But it left you with that gap up front, and you had no sort of main attacking option. And it's happened with other clubs. Leeds United, I mean, it's going back Championship days, but Leeds United had a couple of times in the Championship where we'd spent money on it's nowhere near Premier League kind of money, but we'd spent money on a forward and just didn't perform. And it always happens. Every team will happen at some point. And it's just what you can do about it. And this is what West Ham have got to do now, is for me, is sell Declan Rice and make some money off him, buy a young and upcoming player, and then get another maybe attacking option to go alongside Antonio. I mean, they've got Bowen, but realistically for me, Bowen's not really, he's not top 6 material. He's Premier League material, but I wouldn't put him in top 6 material. Antonio's been quality, but I mean, as we've seen, he's a bit injury prone. There's other positions they can fill in there as well. I think there's a few other spots they could probably cope with, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get 70, 60 million for Declan Rice, you can really go out and splash some cash, buy a couple 20 million, 30 million players. With the COVID market, it's really hit a lot of teams, especially in France. You can get some really cheap deals for some players, as we saw Morgan Sanson going to Aston Villa and the likes of some other players leaving in France. And if they can sell Declan Rice and get this money for West Ham here, they could be looking at a strong team next year, and even stronger, I think, because then you can add on to different parts of your team, and you're not just focused on that one player. You can add in a couple center backs. You can bring in a new center mid. You still have Mark Noble who can pull his weight, as we can see in these last couple of games. But I think you got to look at the back line, as they're giving up 7 goals in the last 3 games. Yes, they've scored 9, but you just can't consistently give up 2+ goals every game. It's not going to work for you unless you're a team like Leeds, who just manage to score loads every game. And yeah, West Ham are playing fantastically, and they're doing very well, but they got to keep it up, and we'll see if they can hold it on to the last couple games. I think they got 5 or 6 games left. I'm not sure where they stand for games played yet in standings, because everyone's kind of played 30, 31, 32 games so far, but we'll see where they end up. I hope they get Europa League. They deserve European football at least.
Definitely.
Anything less than that, I think it'll be injustice to them or a real slip up. But I hope this team can hold on to it, because they really deserve it. But we're going to move on to a game that happened actually back on Friday night, Fulham versus Wolves. This game had a bit of controversy. We had a VAR decision early in the first half. William Jose got up for a beautiful header that was played in by Daniel Podence, a fantastic left winger for Portugal, Daniel Podence. And William Jose, the signing from Real Sociedad, who came in off loan. and he's been brought in from January. As we can see here from the image that Daniel posted here, this was his goal that was taken offside because Podence's sleeve is just somehow offside, which I don't understand. Daniel will touch on that a bit more. I just want to talk about the goals. William Jose was robbed. It was a beautiful header, a beautiful ball from Podence. William Jose's got this in his locker. He's done it many times in the Liga for Real Sociedad. He's done it for Brazil. And he did it fantastically here, and I think he was robbed of a goal. We saw a lot of VAR decisions. We'll talk about it this show quite a bit. And then we saw Adama Traore score an absolute worldie. Played in by Fabio Silva, a young kid from Portugal. It was a beautiful ball. $40 million player he was. He finally produced an assist, something he hasn't done this many times this season, Fabio Silva. And Adama Traore bolted a ball past Areola. You could say he could do better in his near post, but no one's saving that. With the power that Adama Traore put on it, it was fantastic. Amazing to say it was his first goal of the season, which I can't believe for a guy like Adama Traore. It hurts him with Raul Jimenez being out, but what can you do? He's still showing in this game. What do you think of the VAR decision and the goals in this game? I'll let you take the light on the VAR.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to touch more on VAR as well at the end of the podcast. We'll show the stuff as we go along, and we'll sort of cover VAR as a whole at the end. But just to see here, as everyone could probably see on the screen, is literally by maybe a tiniest bit on a shirt sleeve, he's offside. We've seen this before this season. Pat Bamford, for a Leeds example, got called offside, pointed forward, and because his sleeve was in front of the other player, it was offside. And we've seen it again now. And I'm sorry, but Wolves are robbed of this, and it's disgraceful. He scored with his head. So what tactical advantage has he gained from the tip of his shirt sleeve being offside? If anything, like, I'm not sure the Fulham player who that is there, number 30. But, like, if anything, he's probably got a bigger advantage because his legs are further forward, which should make him be able to get back quicker than the other player. But there is no reason at all why that should be going offside. VAR has been great for stuff that a referee might miss, or these blatant offsides that we have seen VAR correct, and fair play to it, because linesmen are human, they make mistakes. Okay, so there's going to be times where they don't see stuff go on. And there has been a lot of blatant mistakes that linesmen have made that VAR has corrected. And I will always stand by it, and I will say, well done there, VAR has actually made a good decision. But then there are times like this where it gets so nitpicky with the lines, and it's like, I don't understand. For me, there's no joy in football anymore in terms like this. It's so hard for footballers to play on the back foot of a defender nowadays because there's no leeway. There is no leeway at all in it. Like we can see there, like he's played on the back foot. His feet are behind the feet of the defender. He's played on the back foot. Like, and we saw him before, Pat Bamford just pointed to where he wanted the ball, but because his shirt sleeve was offside, even though he scored with his foot, apparently it makes a difference. And we've seen before, was it Arsene Wenger that came out and said that he reckoned there was this new way to do it with 2 lines rather than the 1. And there's all these other theories, and on the day they might work, but I think the issues with VAR is it's ruining the enjoyment out of football. Again, I'm going to use, as a Leeds fan, I'm going to use an example we had the other week. Luke Ayling had scored an absolute screamer of a goal. I think it might have been against Sheffield. It might be in the game before. And VAR ruled it offside or something or other. But it took about 2 minutes from that being done, and nobody realised it was going to VAR. So Luke Ayling, your right back, scored an absolute screamer. We were absolutely jumping and jiving everywhere. The players were on the pitch. Luke Ayling had let the hair out. It was a moment to be treasured, and all of a sudden, it's VAR, no goal, and it's like you can't even celebrate a goal anymore because of VAR ruining these decisions for us. And it's hard because I do agree with VAR, like I've said, in blatant and obvious errors that the referees have missed. I agree with it, but when it comes down to this, any football fan should not be agreeing with this because it ruins the fun out of football. Like I said, there is no more playing on the back foot of a defender. There's no more pushing your luck. There's no more 50-50 tackles in football anymore, and we'll touch on that in a few of the other decisions later. Like, yeah, it's hard to put it, but without touching too much, because obviously we want to talk about it a little bit more through the show as well. If Wolves were robbed of that one, but thankfully they managed to gain the win deservedly. So if that had been the cause of a Wolves loss, there'd have been a lot of uproar about it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. VAR has been shocking this weekend. I think this has probably been the worst weekend in the Premier League we've seen for VARs. Probably a decision in almost every game. We might talk about one almost every game. At least next 4 probably we'll talk about. But it's been a shocking weekend for VAR. We covered 2 London-based teams, a relegation battle, a top 4 battle. And after this, we're going to move on to another potential top 4 team and a team without Jack Grealish right after this. So we're going to move on to a team that pushed them for top 4, Liverpool. They just jumped into top 4 briefly this weekend with the win over Aston Villa until Chelsea took that over with their 4-1 win over Crystal Palace. And then West Ham took that over. So Liverpool are back out of the top 4. They got their brief moment of glory. But for once, again, we can finally talk about a Liverpool win after we slayed them for so many months. But Liverpool beat Aston Villa 2-1 here. A Jack Grealish-less Aston Villa managed to almost nick a draw against Liverpool, which would have been a huge result for them. Ollie Watkins scored a really nice goal. He's been fantastic for them this season. Salah scored a nice goal, but then Firmino scored a nice goal, and that was also disallowed from a shirt sleeve. And Salah with a nice little tap in, and then Trent Alexander Arnold scored an absolute screamer from a position that not too many right backs should be putting in, but he showed that Gareth Southgate should be having a look at him, and Southgate was in attendance. Would you be taking Trent Alexander-Arnold to the Euros? We've talked about this before, but after these 2 performances midweek in Champions League and now here, what do you think about Trent?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can't take away Trent's attacking ability. And he's then gone and proved it now. I think he's sort of got to be in his behind it, and he's realised he's had a point to prove, and he's gone out and fought for that attacking. He scored an absolute worldie, and we saw with his assist last week as well. But for me, he's still not proved it in defensively. I mean, he's not been poor, but I think when you got to weigh up your options, I think for me, as we've said before, Walker is a very good defender and he's got an attacking ability. Wan-Bissaka is your option when you want to go all defensively. I think for Trent, he's not got in defence what the others can offer. And out of a defender, what do you need the most? Like Walker can give you both, where Trent doesn't seem to give you both. He seems to give you always more of the attacking rather than the defensive mindset, which isn't a bad thing. Like, depending on your tactics, it works. But I mean, like, at the same time, I know who I'd be picking. And like I said, we've touched on it in recent weeks, so I won't go too far into it, but it wouldn't be Trent. But in fairness to him, he's doing well again for Liverpool at the minute. But he's more of a left mid player for me. He's a left midder, or a right midder, sorry, rather than a right back. That's the kind of way I see Trent. But
yeah, I mean, you got so many right backs to choose from. Lamptey, Kieran Trippier, who can put a dime of a ball into the box just like Trent can. Set pieces, he's unbelievable. Kyle Walker, so versatile. You can play him anywhere on the pitch. You got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who can really play anywhere defensively, not really attacking-wise. Like, you got so many options there. Trent's attacking ability, like you touched on, just can't beat it. He's been fantastic of late. I mean, defensively in Champions League, we saw he was abysmal against Real Madrid. Vinicius Jr. had him for days. He was just eating him up. and he just really couldn't answer it. And attacking wise against Aston Villa, we saw the flip side. He scored goals, he had assists when he wants. He was unbelievable. And this is what you get from Trent. Going forward, he's unbelievable. Going backwards, he just can't cut it. And we saw it here once again. But I'd like to get your thoughts on the goals, the decisions in the game, what you think from this game. Showed up this game, they won 2-1. Couple nice goals from Liverpool, and Ollie Watkins, like I said, put a nice goal. Without Jack Grealish, they really showed up. What do you think about Liverpool in this game and Aston Villa's productivity without Jack Grealish?
Yeah, I mean, Villa again I said proved they can do it without Grealish. They didn't win, so I mean, they didn't prove it, but they didn't look bad without him. They were still creating chances, as we can see here. They've still got the options there. 5 shots on target, 9 shots in total isn't bad against a team like Liverpool, who are going to dominate the ball, which we can see there they have done. But as last week, and I'll say it again, Liverpool is slowly looking like the team they did last season again. I thought Diego Jota looked quality again. Was it the header he scored again? Although was it the header he almost got? Yeah. The header was class, and I think this game it's sort of shown as well. He's in there all the time, sort of creating those chances, making those options available. And I know you said would you look at building a team around him? I feel like maybe. I know I didn't say it, and I know I said you don't really want to build a team around one player, but the way he's played for Liverpool at the minute, he's bringing the life back into them. I mean, Salah looked good again. Salah, I mean, he does good, he does bad. He's still Salah at the end of the day. I mean, I've said to you before, I'd sell him as a Liverpool player. I'd sell him, get some money, because he'll go for a fair bit and get some, maybe not better, but you fill in a couple positions and with decent players, fill in the gaps that Liverpool need. But yeah, Liverpool, I think the midfield looked best for them. They seem to do really well in midfield and creating those options for the attacking players. 23 shots there, 10 on target, which isn't bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, they could have a better ratio, but they dominated the game. Most of that's been through the middle, so fair play to them. They're looking a little bit better now.
Yeah, Liverpool kind of showed up here this game. As we see, they really had a lot of chances. We knew they were going to have a lot of ball going into this game. Aston Villa were really going to have to sit back, soak up pressure. They still had a couple chances, 9 shots, 5 shots on target. Still managing to score a goal is fantastic with only 33% possession. We'll talk about another game where a team had quite a not much possession, and you know who that is. But, yeah, and Liverpool ended up having 23 shots compared to 9 and 10 on target, which you should have a better ratio, but they still won at the end of the day, so I think Liverpool is not going to really complain, and Liverpool fans won't complain. I think we see Liverpool sit, I think it's 6th in the table now after West Ham and Chelsea won. I can't exactly remember, but it's all tight up there. Teams are jumping over each other. Do you think Liverpool is going to slide into Europa League and be a massive team in Europa League like Man United and Arsenal were? Or do you think they're going to slip in the Champions League and knock off Chelsea, West Ham, and Tottenham and those teams?
I hope Liverpool stay just where they are and just escape Europe. I don't think they deserve it after this season. I mean, like we said now, they're coming back on a bit of a rise, but they don't deserve it. To be champions from last season to be where they are now, it's appalling. There's so many teams that deserve it more this season. Like I've said to you, I think Europa's best for not Wolves, for West Ham. I think West Ham's in there. I think Chelsea will probably nick that last fourth place. West Ham get the Europa spot. And see who else joins them in there. But I don't think it should be Liverpool. I don't think they've done enough for it. I mean, like I said, they haven't been poor towards this end of the season, but they've had the most appalling start to the season. I mean, yeah, they beat Leeds on the starting day, but we showed them up on that first day, and ever since then, they haven't looked great all season. I know Klopp's been moaning at a few things, and Liverpool fans will blame it on Virgil being out. Amongst other stuff, but they can't argue it. I don't think they deserve Europe this season, and if they do, I think Europa. I don't think definitely not Champions League. I think they might scrape that second Europa spot, and I think that's what they deserve at most. I wouldn't even give them the first Europa spot just out of spite. I do think West Ham have been a much better team this season, and they've been way more consistent than Liverpool have, and I'll give them that. But yeah, I think if anything, that second Europa spot is probably all they're going to get.
Yeah, it's looking nip and tuck for Liverpool here. That's just really so tight up there. I can't believe they actually slipped back into contention here for a Champions League spot and Europa League spot. It shows how bad some of the rest of the league have been, with Chelsea coming back and Tottenham have been terrible. Arsenal, West Ham has been unbelievable, so that's a high tally for them. Leicester slipped late, which they always seem to slip late in the season, which is kind of a shocker for Brendan Rodgers' kind of teams. We saw Leicester years ago, or Liverpool years ago, my bad. Leicester now. And it seems like Leicester could even slip down to Europa League if possible. You never know what they could do, but they have so much talent, and the season they've had, if they slip down, it's going to be quite sad to see for a team like Leicester. But yeah, if Liverpool get into Europe, it's going to be quite shocking because no one wants to see them get Europe at this rate. How they've played and all the talk around them and how badly of champions they've been. They don't deserve it, like you say. If they get it, it better be Europa League because they don't deserve Champions League. West Ham deserves Champions League, Leicester, and I think the two teams above them are going to stay there. We'll talk about that later on, but I can't see those two teams moving at this point of the season. It just seems like impossible with how far ahead they are. First place is so far ahead, and second is just kind of slipping away now. But we're going to move quickly to a commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk about the two Manchester clubs and your club right after this.
Welcome to Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
You got Manchester City against Leeds. Your team came out and played. Only, I think it was 2 shots you guys had all game, and you guys somehow managed to nick it with 2 goals. Quite a bit of controversy in this game. Man City were all over you guys, but somehow you managed to get the win. I don't know how it worked out for you guys in the end. City couldn't finish. It was a nice, beautiful goal from Stuart Dallas, actually. And the last goal was really a breakaway from Stuart Dallas. I see you got a big grin on your face. I'll let you go on and talk about your team and the performance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here all day and tell you how amazing Leeds played in attack, because I'm not going to lie. For once, Leeds were dominated by another team. The only team that's ever going to do that's Man City, because they're the only team that sort of played a very similar style to us, is just dominate the game and constantly press. But yeah, Leeds came out and we got the first goal, which is always a good sign. Manchester City don't do great when conceding first. As the stats say there, 29 shots to 2. The only 2 we have are goals, and I'm not going to complain one bit. I mean, I will point out 29 shots and 7 on target for Manchester City is appalling. And the only good shot they actually had on target was the one they scored. But I mean, like I said, when we've got 2 shots and 2 goals, I'm not going to complain too much. They just controlled us really well. I'm not going to lie. First half of the game, we had so much pressure on us. But every time we got the ball, we looked dangerous in attack, which is what Leeds do, and no different surprise. We got the goal, and then just shortly after, Liam Cooper unfortunately took a red card and a controversial decision, which we'll touch on in a minute. So that happened, and then Manchester City managed to get a goal back. Fair play to them. I mean, the pressure they were putting on us, I'd have been worried if Manchester City didn't get a goal. But we still, at the late stages of the game, with 10 men on that pitch, never burnt out. Our fitness was unbelievable, and we pushed forward and managed to get another goal. It could have happened a few times, and there was even moments before the red card in the first half. Pat Bamford missed, unfortunately, 2 tap-ins. He just perfect balls in. Pat had just overran it. He couldn't really. I didn't know if he thought it was going to go in front. instead. But whatever happened, it's never mind. We still won the game. Stuart Dallas, the Cook's Time Cafu, the Leeds born man, just absolute beauty. It's just great to see Leeds. We played defensively more than we played an attacking game, which isn't Leeds. And I mean, it was forced to our hand being down to 10 men, which is going to happen. But we put on Koch, Llorente, Cooper come off, Struijk was on, Phillips was on. We still had Gianni Alioski and Luke Ayling. So not 5 at the back, but not far off at one point. And we looked so strong defensively. And honest to God, I wouldn't be afraid if we even watched, if we played a defensive style of football like Fulham. Honest to God, I wouldn't be surprised if we went half the season with clean sheets, because we just looked so good in defence. Calvin Phillips in the first half was a bit sort of scrappy, especially after the decision with Liam Cooper. I think Phillips's head went a little bit. But I think when he realised that, he came out, and Calvin Phillips was unbelievable. Don't get me wrong, he made 1 or 2 mistakes, but I'm not going to slate him for it. His overall performance was absolutely incredible. Llorente was so strong at the back. Luke Ayling and Alioski had those wings covered most of the game. We just played so well, even though as we showed, we barely had any possession realistically in comparison to City. But yeah, late stages of the game, we still had a couple of counter-attacks. Rafinha had one, which I'll touch on in a second. And then Stuart Dallas managed to bully off John Stones and get it straight through the legs of Edison. And I tell you, my household was rocking for the rest of the night, absolutely bouncing. My poor dad had just had an operation, and even he was jumping about. So as a Leeds fan, it was beautiful. You see the scenes. Obviously, all the pubs have been shut in England at the minute, but you see the scenes from. We have a big fan base over in Australia, and one of the pubs there was full of Leeds fans, and it was bouncing. And you'd have just known a game like that is where you want fans in. Even as a neutral, you'll probably see it, Lane. A game like that with a red card to Leeds, and then Leeds managing to bring it back in the late minutes of the game in such a fashion would have just been an absolute scenes in and away end at the Etihad. We'd have actually made the Etihad loud for once. It'd have been incredible. But I don't know if you want to say anything before I touch on the VAR decisions.
Yeah, I think you guys played incredibly. I hate to talk good about Leeds. It hurts to see you guys actually playing defensive style football. You guys looked like prime Jose Mourinho at times, especially with 10 men behind the ball. I couldn't believe you guys held on to it. Without your captain, your leader, Liam Cooper, to hold on to the game, to carry you guys out there, to march on the second half. I mean, I don't understand how you guys pulled it off. It was a great performance. I mean, we beat them 2-0, but like we weren't down 10 men. They had 29 shots. Yes, they should have been more clinical. They missed so many chances. They weren't good in front of net at all. But you guys were clinical, yet like 2 shots, 2 goal. Stuart Dallas, beautiful goal. The first one, like I said, and that second goal. I don't know how the back line Stones, and I can't remember who he played with. I think it might have been Fernandinho, but I don't know how they let him go through them like that. It was so easy for Alioski to play him in behind. It made no sense to me. I couldn't understand how he got in behind. But I'm going to quickly bring up the video of the challenge from Liam Cooper here, and I'm going to get you to talk about that, because I know you had some harsh opinions on that in the weekend. You weren't too impressed, that's for sure. I got it up right here for everybody. What do you think about that one there, Daniel?
So, initially that challenge was given a yellow card, and then VAR was asked to review it. I can't remember who was on the VAR desk, but he's notorious for not liking Leeds and also trying to pull back some challenges. For me, I see it as a yellow. I will not argue it is. I mean, at the time, in the moment, I was like, great clearance, captain. Because, let's be honest, he did clear the ball. I don't know if you want to rewind it again, Lane, and we'll see. Liam Cooper clears that ball before he makes any contact on Gabriel Jesus. What my decision with that is, fair enough, he's got a yellow for the collision afterwards. But what you're basically saying is that a player can't challenge a 50-50 for the ball. They said his foot was too high off the ground. and we'll touch a funny one on that in another game shortly. But I'm it just baffles me how you can't go in for a challenge anymore. Like, he hasn't gone in maliciously going for him, and we've seen. We're not going to touch on it too much, but we've seen, looking back at early noughties football, some of the challenges you'd see players going for, and they'd come out with broken legs, and nobody would bat an eyelid. And Liam Cooper,
Roy Keane.
yeah, Roy Keane now, and like you'll see it, like nothing happened. And it's so harsh to give him a red for that. Like, Gabriel Jesus came out with literally just a scratch. Like, there's nothing wrong with him. And I'm not going to say he's milked it for all it was worth, because, yeah, there was a bit of contact in there. But, like, Liam Cooper's cleared the ball. He's not gone in with any malicious intent to hurt Gabriel Jesus there, or even to try and do a 50-50 tackle on him. He's gone in to clear the ball. He's cleared the ball. What's he going to do? Whip his leg back at 50 mile an hour to stop himself hitting him? Like, I get that. Yeah, his boot was a little bit high, but at the same time, like, Gabriel Jesus, I'm going to bring this photo up and we can sort of see the way he comes in for the ball as well. Let me just pop it up. I believe it's this one. Yeah. So we can see here, Gabriel Jesus comes in at an angle where God knows what he's doing, because he's not going for the ball there. So we can see Liam Cooper's cleared it, and the contact's after. I mean, I know that's not showing the contact on that photo, but it's there. And it's so hard to pull on it. At the end of the day, it will be what it will be. But my argument was, Lane, you'll remember this tackle well. Son Heung-min last season broke Andre Gomez's leg in a horrific tackle, a completely horrific tackle. He got a red on the pitch for it, and when it was reviewed, they revoked it and gave him a yellow. And for me, in a tackle where he's not gone in maliciously, he's been given a red and then been taken, like, fully broke his leg, ended his season, and then to get it pulled out and get it a yellow. Liam Cooper's gone in non-maliciously, got a red. If this doesn't come back and have a yellow, for me, it's just a joke. What we can see on this photo here as well is the bottom picture is Leeds United's last game, with Tyler Roberts being tackled by, I believe, is it Baldock for the Sheffield United? That card wasn't even given a foul, let alone that challenge wasn't even given a foul, let alone a card. They said about Liam Cooper that his legs were too far off the floor. One foot was too far off the floor, which was knee height, and he had studs showing. And Baldock in that challenge has two studs showing him both feet off the floor, and it's not even given a foul, let alone a yellow or a red. And for me, that's way more of a red card challenge. You can't see the after of that, but Tyler Roberts landed on his neck. Like, literally could have ended the guy's career if that had snapped. Could have paralysed him. And it wasn't even given any card at all, or a foul at least. And I'm not trying to compare the two tackles because they are slightly different. We're more trying to compare the inconsistency of referees. Like, one referee's had that, and one hasn't. And there's just no consistency anymore in referees nowadays for me. And it's hard, but we're going to touch on more of it, but it's just so poor from referees. We're just going to look at another couple of photos or clips from the game. This was another decision that didn't get checked on. Sterling stamped on Rafinha's ankle. Accidentally or not, you tell me, but VAR never even looked at it. Rafinha stayed down on the floor for a couple of minutes because he'd been stepped on his ankle. And accidental or not, we've seen yellow cards given for stuff like that before. Nothing's given. And another one that we always find funny for VAR is how they check so many of these decisions on offsides. And then we have another one here. This was the Manchester City goal, and we can see it's very close. The ball hasn't been, I think the ball's just in contact there. We don't have the lines on here. It's hard to say, but you'd think they'd even look at it, and it never gets looked at. And again, it's just these awful controversial decisions. And the one last one that I'm going to show us, if I can just get it up, is this tackle by Fernandinho on Rafinha. Again, wasn't even given a foul. So we'll let you sort of decide for yourselves. This was in the late minutes of the game where Leeds were 1-1 and it was going down to, this was a counter-attack. Rafinha, oh no, sorry, this was 2-1. But Rafinha had an open chance on goal. If Fernandinho wasn't there, we could have literally finished off the game 3-1 rather than 2-1. And that challenge, literally all leg, again, could have snapped Rafinha's leg, not even given a foul or a yellow. And it's not the fact of that tackle itself, it's just the fact of there's no inconsistency in the game. Like, Liam Cooper gets a yellow originally, at least for his tackle, and Fernandinho gets away with that. I don't like saying it, but Leeds 100% played against 12 men at the weekend. Even when we were 10 men down, it was harder because we were playing against 12. That referee, I think it was Andre Mariner, was just awful. And we'll touch as well, there was 3 minutes of added time given, and it got to the 97th minute before the game got called. Leeds were 2-1 up. So it wasn't even like, and it was after the goal. I think the goal was scored maybe the 91st, 92nd minute. And then there was at one point at the 95th minute, Man City run another attack and he let the whole attack play out. Then even let Leeds take the free kick, the goal kick, and get it back to that like 3/4 of the way towards Man City's net before he pulled it. And the refereeing was just awful. And I know I'll let you touch on it in a second now, Lane. Refereeing is just so inconsistent in the Premier League. You get one ref in Mike Dean who'll make the game about himself and he'll just go card happy. You get a ref in Andre Mariner that was completely blatantly one-sided and just didn't give anything Leeds' way apart from maybe 1 or 2 decisions, which the one we've just looked at for me, Fernandinho and Rafinha was worse than a couple of the ones he gave. And then we're seeing in other games like the Leeds Sheffield game, and I know you've had some of the Manchester United games, decisions that just haven't been given. And football fans as a whole are wanting answers on it. I know a lot of football fans have said, rather than get the managers after the game to talk on Sky Sports or BT or Amazon or whoever's programming the game, we'd rather see the referees some days and just be asked, why was that this or why wasn't that this? Because we just don't understand, and football fans as a whole, the rules aren't clear anymore. And even when the rules are clear, it seems the referees just make their own minds up on what is. I wanted to touch on this in the next game, but I'm going to bring it up now. So we've seen some of the decisions that have been made. But this was during the Newcastle game. This decision, he took a boot to the head and it wasn't a free kick. I'm going to come off it because I want to look at that again for the game. But there's no clear and obvious errors. Because referees will just decide for themselves what is. VAR was brought in to help the game out, and they either use it too much or use it for stuff where it ruins the game, or there's stuff that doesn't get used for VAR, which should be. And I want to know your opinion on it, because I know Man United have had a lot of issues, and I know we'll probably touch on the one that happened in your game, but I'll let you go for now, because everyone will probably be tired of hearing my voice moaning.
I'll let you moan heavy rant for a bit there. I want to just touch on it a little bit. You summed it up perfectly, I think. VAR is way too inconsistent. You have your refs like Mike Dean make the games on their own. He's dancing on the field. He's pointing like he's at a karaoke bar or something, whatever he's doing. Then you got Andre Mariner, who just picks a team and he says, this is my team and they're going to win, or they're going to try to win. I'm going to do my best to help them win, which didn't really work against you guys. But, yeah, the reffing is appalling. I'm just going to wrap up my end of my statement with, I like what Jose Mourinho is completely box office, and I think he summed it up in one press conference. He said, almost like what you said, but he said, referees should be interviewed instead of us. He said, why aren't the refs being interviewed after the games? He said, it doesn't make sense. He said, I want to see this guy come out and have a press conference like I am. He said, they're basically players too. They're on the field. Why aren't they getting talked about? And I completely agree with him. And I think you summed up the VAR decision perfectly. And we're going to move on to another game that my team played in, which had a very controversial play in it too. And we'll talk about it right after this. Manchester United managed to beat Tottenham Hotspurs in the weekend 3-1. I predicted myself it'd be 3-1 the other way for Tottenham, and I couldn't believe we managed to win this one. It was an interesting game. We saw a goal from Edison Cavani, I think it was the 36th or 37th minute, overturned because of VAR. Once again, I'll bring up the video in a couple minutes after I let Daniel talk about what he thought about this game. But yeah, we had a tremendous game here. Bruno almost scored a worldie, but Hugo Lloris had an unbelievable game. Hugo Lloris is usually really not talked about as much. He's been gone down since his World Cup performance in 2018, and he really played an unbelievable game here for Tottenham. This game could have been the revenge match and could have been 6-1, I think, if Hugo wasn't in net and you had a different goalie on their day, Gazaniga or somebody else who Tottenham has. Because Hugo Lloris stepped up, had an amazing game, and really kept Tottenham in this game, because without him, it wasn't a contest. It still wasn't a contest in the second half. We ran the game. We played like City did against you guys, but we were clinical, which was the difference. But I'm going to let you take the floor here and let you talk about this game before I rant about it a bit more.
Yeah, no, I mean, all fair play to Man United. Came out and played so well. I mean, Tottenham didn't have the worst of games, but this was the decision Lane's talking about. He'll show you the video in a minute. Basically, what happens towards the Cavani goal is his son takes a little rub on his whiskers from McTominay, and honest to God, it's embarrassing the way he goes down. There's no other way to put it. It is embarrassing. My nan wouldn't fall down like that if she were on a football field. I mean, nan's 87-year-old. It's just you can't put into words, because it's not like McTominay. And don't get me wrong, there is some decisions I've seen where McTominay, especially, and other players have whacked a player in the face. Like in this situation, all McTominay did here, and it's not often, Lane soaked this in because it's not often I'll back Man United up, but McTominay literally just put his arm out to block the defender getting near him and to have a feel of where the defender was. It's a contact sport. He's not smacked Son in the face. He's not actually giving him a slap. He's literally just put his arm out to feel for it. The way Son's body position's gone is he's just honest to God, we'll see the clip in a minute, and it's not a smack in the face. He's literally just caught his face ever so slightly, and it's been given a foul, and it's embarrassing. It really is. Man United played well. Cavani did actually end up scoring, didn't he? And it was an unbelievable goal. Fair play to Greenwood. He got a great goal as well, and the other goal, I can't remember who scored it, but every goal was a great goal from him. It was a performance from a team that is second in the league. And that's the best way to describe that game. I know you text me, and I've got a few other friends that are unfortunately Man United fans, and they all text me and said how good Man United looked, and they actually thought that was one of the best games they've seen from them in a while. And I won't lie, it really did look like Man United with a second place team this week. I know we've said it on other weeks, is I don't feel like Man United sometimes have the consistency, and I'm not saying they have the consistency, but that is the kind of game where they look like the second place team. I say second place like it's a bad thing there, but they look like the team that should be challenging. They should be in that position in the league, and they deserve to be in that position in the league. Fair play to them. Great performance. I mean, Tottenham's goal wasn't bad either, but I'm honest to God, and like I said, soak this up. After that happened with Son, I was happy Man United came back and beat him, because it's just a disgrace. We're going to show another clip afterwards of what Jose Mourinho's reaction was after the game about it, but I'll let Lane touch on it and have his rant first, like I have about Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, what a game from United. Someone flipped on a light. Second half, it was like we turned into actual Manchester United, and the first half was like we were Spurs. It was terrible first 45 minutes. We were awful. It was like once we scored that goal and got disallowed, I knew they were going to come back and do something. I thought they were going to have a big chance, or they were going to hit the bar, or something was going to happen, because the boys looked deflated. And it made sense, because then the refereeing just looked like it went all Tottenham's way. Fouls all over the place getting called Tottenham's way, and Bruno had a terrible challenge that wasn't even called against him, and just the reffing was appalling against us, even in other games, like we said. But this game especially, I found, because I'm a United fan, I was nitpicking, whatnot. But just Oh, the reffing was appalling. But yeah, it was a very nice goal from Spurs. But I thought, yeah, it was because of Victor Lindelof was terrible to back there in that one play, and we had the midfield that fell asleep for a couple seconds. But your heads are gonna drop. I know everyone says keep your heads up after something like that, or don't let your heads drop. But I don't understand how you can't let your heads drop at times in the pitch when things like that happen to you. An injustice like that just ruins the game at times, and it absolutely kills the sport. I think it was Mika Richards who said in the weekend, same with Roy Keane, our game is being killed from VAR and the refereeing. And it's like. They got to fix this because we touched on that. I'll touch on it more, but I just want to touch on the goals quickly because United were phenomenal in the second half. Like I said, Bruno could have scored a worldie. Hugo Lloris kept him in it. Beautiful goal from Edison Cavani, a very nice header for our second goal. Basically gave us the winner. And Cavani could have scored two or three. He missed the chance for our first goal. It was a nice save from Hugo Lloris to keep it out in the 6-yard box. And Fred, of all people, were there to touch it in. I mean, I'm not a fan of Fred the Red, but he was still there, right spot, right time. Any United player who scores, they'll back them up the hill. And he did good for him. He finally scored. He got to do his samba and dance or whatever he felt like doing. And then Mason Greenwood was a beautiful finish in the 96th minute, which I don't know where the referee found 6 minutes to add on. Yes, there was a couple fouls. Some United didn't even make a substitute. We made one for Rashford for Greenwood. That's all I could. Matic came on. But really, 2 subs. I'm not sure how many Tottenham really made. And the fact that you're leaving so late and then he adds on 6 minutes, I'm not sure where he found those 6 minutes from. I couldn't understand. He's pulling them out of somewhere, and I couldn't have figured he's making up numbers just to give Tottenham a chance, I thought. And I'm going to quickly bring up this clip because I don't want to hound about the refs and United's all day because I could do it up to the hills. I'm going to bring up the clip that Scott McTominay apparently killed Heung-min Son on this play. Right.
Rest in peace, Heung-min Son.
Right here. You can just, before I play the video, it zooms in on the clip of where his hand makes contact. I don't think he could have been feeling the defender like you said, but I think it's just a running motion. Scott McTominay plays his arms so wide.
That photo makes it look so much worse, to be fair.
It does make it look so much worse. Like it just And when Scott McTominay is running, his arms are wide. He runs like he's Cristiano Ronaldo. Keeps his arms straight and diagonal. But when Scott McTominay bends them like he's flying, like he has wings, and Son just got in the way and ran into the back, and he just has his hand hit the back. And it looks like he got shot from a sniper or something from – it was like London has fallen. Like he just got shot out of nowhere. And I don't understand how he fell like this. We'll see it in 2 seconds when I just want to play it, but I just want to look at the face of Son. Like he hardly gets touched. And like even when I'm playing football, my arms are moving. Your arms are going to be moving in that kind of style when you're running. You know how it is in rugby too and whatnot. And everyone can probably say the same. When you're running, your arms are obviously going to be moving. And Son just got in the way. He could have been feeling defender at an obvious point. Scott McTominay had some words after the game, I understand. I don't like what Tottenham and Jose Mourinho have said about all this. Oh, Sonny's an amazing player. He's in tears, all of this. Really, he dove like he was trying to act for an Oscar. And just like when he broke Andre Gomez's leg, he was still crying then. So, yes, Son's an amazing guy. He's respectful and whatnot. But on the pitch, I think you got to carry yourself with some more respect and not flop on the floor like you're a fish or like we said about Salah. We've criticized Salah, but I think this is more disrespectful from what Son did. Salah does dive all the time, but it isn't a dive to this sort of degree. Salah at least gets touched in the leg or he still gets kicked to some extent. Son got I don't even know what to call it this was. I'm going to play the clip and we can talk about it here. That's all it was. And then he just dropped.
It's the way he goes down holding his plates.
We'll see if we have a different angle here.
It's a good job none of these ever enter any charity boxing matches. That's all.
He should fight KSI next and see what happens, or Jake Paul can take him down. It was just a
KSI could fight him with his left pinky and still win.
You and I could fight him with our left pinkies. It's just embarrassing.
I could just look at him in the wrong way and he'd probably fall to the floor.
Jose would have to feed him with the comments he had to say, but I don't understand what Jose Mourinho came out after the game in his press conference saying Son Heung-min has good thing he has a better father than Ole because he would feed his kids, or he'd steal to feed his kids. And I don't understand what that meant at all. But you can play the clip here quickly before we wrap up the end of the show here.
Yeah, so just to give some context, Ole had came out, and what had Ole said, Lane? You'll probably know.
Yeah, I remember it was something about if you're dieting, you shouldn't feed your kids or something.
Yeah.
It was a weird comment.
So,
He's very lucky that his father is a better person than Ole. Because I think a father, I am a father, I think a father, you have always to feed your kids. Doesn't matter what they do. If you have to steal to feed your kids, you steal. I'm very, very disappointed. And because with me, like we say in Portugal, bread is bread and cheese is cheese, I told already Ole what I think about his comments. And I have to tell you that I'm very, very disappointed that in 5, 6, 7 questions, you ignore the dimension of that comment.
so just to touch on a bit of background to that, was basically like Ole had come out and basically said, I wouldn't feed my child if he dived like that. And so Jose's basically came out and said, well, I'm glad Son's dad fed him as a child. Like,
It reminds me of Rick Cantona, like,
where you get feeding, like, this is 2 grown men. And because the players dived on the floor, they're talking about feeding children. And it's just... what Jose will always come out with stuff like this. And what it reminds me of, I want to actually get it up, actually.
Cantona. It reminds me of Rick Cantona.
I want to get this clip up because it's one of my favourite clips from football. It reminds me of the Cantona moment a few years ago.
Moment. If you can get it up before we wrap up the show, it'd be brilliant. Finished up perfectly for us here. No better way to end the show than a Cantona.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about the. Do you want to talk about the VAR decision, Lane?
Like you said, yeah, Jose Mourinho's absolute box office. And while you're getting this clip up, I just want to say we're talking about feeding kids after a guy's dove in press conference. You don't get more Eric Cantona than this. That's why Daniel's got this clip up. It's going to be brilliant to show you what we mean by Cantona. Like, because Cantona is probably one of the best footballers to ever play the game, I would say. He's an absolute box office player. He played for Leeds. He played for Man United. You can't get too much more of a rivalry club than that. He broke the transfer fee when he was playing for $1 million. And I think this is the Ballon d'Or clip, or Champions League clip, where he just goes on some weird rant. And we'll hear it right now, and we'll wrap up the show right after this because there's no better way to end it than a Eric Cantona clip.
The recipient of the 2019 President's Award. What's going on through your mind right now?
As flies to wanton boys, we are for the goats. They kill us for the sport. Soon the science will not only be able to slow down the aging of the cells, soon the science will fix the cells to the state. And so we will become eternal. Only accidents, crimes, wars,
Ronaldo's face.
kill us.
Oh, jeez.
But unfortunately, crimes and wars will multiply. I love football. Thank you.
So to point that out, that was Cantona's acceptance speech for an award the other year. I think it was outstanding performance in football over a lifetime or something like that. And he comes out with random stuff. If anyone has YouTube or likes to go on YouTube, follow Eric Cantona's channel. For some of the Euros the other year, he basically streamed shirtless content. I remember him shirtless in a chair, just screaming "Will Griggs on fire," just in this basement.
And if anyone doesn't know Cantona, he's one of the best players to ever play a game. Like I said, he played for your club, my club.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Cantona. He's box office. He kicked some planet, karate kick.
Most famous for 2-footing a fan, jumping in the stands and kicking a fan in the face.
Which ended up him getting suspended and making Man United lose the league, basically. So Yeah, Cantona is absolutely box office, and that's what we had to finish off the show with him, just because we talked about feeding kids in a press conference, which links in perfectly to Cantona, and I think that's a perfect way to end off the show. I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone tuning in this week and for tuning in last week. A couple great shows. This week we incorporated some videos. We hope everyone likes it. I think the videos were a great touch. And I'd like to say thank you very much, and we'll see everyone next week. See you, everyone.